What's up, guys? This is DK from Pure Motor Club. We're here with another episode of the Pure Power Podcast. Obviously, you know me. I'm DK. This here is my co-host, Doug.
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here. Sorry I missed the first episode. I'm slacking.
All good, all good. Doug is one of the presidents of Pure Motor Club, and not the original creator of the Motor Club.
That'd be Anthony. Yep.
Right.
Legend.
Right. So, I guess we could start off by going through, in terms of the car club.
Yeah.
How did you get invited or, start Pure? I don't know, really the origin story of Pure since being a member.
So as that was told to me by the four founders, basically Anthony, another member Steve, Douglas, and JP or Jordan, they were all into cars. They were all friends. I think most of them were from like the same area, the same town. I think they were in the same high school, but like a couple of years apart. And they were in a club called Jersey VQs, I think it was. Okay. And for one reason or another, they decided they wanted to start their own club, and that's how they came up with Pure VQs. The way I actually got into it was I bought a Q50 and I started modding it, and I originally didn't intend to really go crazy with it, which obviously, you know how that all went. But I started getting into it, and I actually reached out to Boost in Motion, so I guess plug to you, Boost, and asked if he knew of any car clubs that were geared towards Nissan or Infiniti. And he actually mentioned Pure VQs was the first one that he told me about. So I reached out to their Instagram page. I spoke to Anthony. He really liked the car, so he basically told me to come out to like a couple of car meets or shows and just kind of get acclimated with everybody and see if they liked me, if I liked them. And that's pretty much how it happened. So I started off just as like a regular member, and honestly I actually wasn't really even that active at first because I was just kind of like getting a new job and starting some new things, so I wasn't even really the best member.
Yeah.
But I hit it off with everybody, and so eventually Anthony asked if I wanted to be like a team lead and kind of help out with some of the responsibilities, and I was honored to do so. And at that point I was a lot more invested in the club anyways. My schedule kind of freed up, so I was showing up to stuff. And he really noticed that I guess I was like doing a good job as a lead, so he eventually asked me if I wanted to be a president, which I was actually a little hesitant about at first because it's kind of a big responsibility, at least within the club.
Yeah.
And then he told me he was basically going to be taking a step back because he was starting a new career and trying to start his life. He was planning to get engaged, which now he is. So congratulations, Anthony.
Congrats.
So he kind of took a back seat and asked me to kind of fill the role that he was walking away from. And as that happened, some of the other guys left, or not left, but they did the same thing. They kind of took a back seat, like Steve and Douglas. So that's how Chris and Matt got involved. And then eventually you got involved.
Right.
And JP never, he's just still been rolling with it. But yeah, they formed the club in 2019, so they've been around for a while. It's been
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah. So it's gone through its ups and downs. I think the biggest it's been is there's been a little over 50 members. Right now there's probably about 40 or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it started off with the intent to be a Nissan and Infiniti club, and that's what it was for, I guess, like 5 of those 6 years.
Yeah, I remember it kind of seemed like a big thing, opening it up to all the cars. I remember the first time you had called me to talk about that. Yeah,
it was nerve-wracking because you don't know. I've never been this way. Like, I've never been like a purist of a certain brand.
Yeah.
I have brands I like more than others, but I like my Q, but I also like Corvettes and I like Subarus and I like this and that. So I was always open to it, but some people, they're like, diehard Nissan and Infiniti, so we didn't know how certain people in the club were going to react to it. But I guess to get into that, so we eventually decided to make it Pure Motor Club, which is what it is now.
Right.
And the main reason was we were losing a lot of really good members because they were getting different cars, and it didn't really make sense. So we decided, why don't we open it up so we can keep these guys? And
I remember when you first brought it up to me, and I'm not really like a Nissan purist either.
Right.
Especially because earlier I broke down kind of the other cars that I would have that aren't really in the Nissan family that I would like to have. And I remember thinking though, like, I don't know, it's like the one thing that I remember that I really wanted to hone in on and make a big thing was how deep you could go with Nissan builds, Nissan and Infiniti builds,
Right.
showing cars that people had never really seen, like when Chris got the President.
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware that car existed.
I didn't know about that car either.
So, I knew about the Chaser, and I knew about cars like that. But
now
obviously,
JP's got the SEMA. I didn't know about that one
JP
either.
has the SEMA. That's like when my first Z got hit. I think it was Chris that he sent me the Gloria.
Okay.
Remember the white
yeah.
Gloria GT that was for sale in Jersey, and I didn't even know that car was a thing either.
Right.
But it's dope, and
Yeah.
I did put some thought into getting it. Obviously, that didn't happen, but I really always thought that was kind of cool, and being able to have such what seemed like a extremely diverse amount of cars coming from really one brand.
They've had a long legacy, and they've had so many different, cars. I mean, it is a cool brand. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, from the 240 to the 300.
They made some legendary cars.
A lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
But and that's what I think made it work, because you could have that. Like, it wasn't like everybody had a 370Z or something. Everybody had a little something different.
People got creative.
Yeah, and what we wanted to do is just have we tried our best to make it like a premier, club where it was all, like more show-ready builds, as we like to say, where, you can go to a show and you might be able to place. So we wanted to kind of like, like the top-tier clubs in the state, like, Regiment Zero and all those clubs. We kind of wanted to try to have a similar, standard. So that's what we've been trying to do, and we're still trying to carry that out with the new, philosophy with the other builds. We still want them to be high-quality, cars. So
yeah, I mean, even with one of our newest members, my friend John Marco.
Yeah.
Shout out John Marco.
Yeah.
Who has we just picked up his R32 Skyline, and even though it's just a GTS,
right.
I remember when I sent him the car and he was interested, and he's always wanted like a project car, really dope car, and ever since he went to he had inquired before that too, but when he went to, I don't know if you remember, but he went to our season closer. He had the purple Charger.
Okay, yeah.
So that was the car from the Enterprise that we worked at.
Okay.
And it's like almost everyone's favorite car there, except for me, because I have a gripe with Charger.
But, yeah, now you do.
Yeah, now I do. But when he got to actually see like the how we were.
Yeah.
Like as a family, as a car club, how we converse with each other, how we're kind of just like chill, laid back,
Right.
like no one's like annoying or doing the most. He was definitely more interested in joining the car club, and when it came time to get that car, I was like, it's bone stock.
Yeah, they all start off that way, though.
Yeah, and I remember stressing to him like, yo, like, you can definitely get in. I could get you in, but you got to do this, this, and this,
Right, yeah.
and it's got to be a minimum. Like that is what has to be done to the car. So even before we went to go pick up the car, I'm looking at like parts that, because the car has it had a misfire, it didn't have an exhaust. It was just not that it was a mess. I mean, the paint's good. It's a project, but it's a project where you get to start from the fun parts. You know, like you don't have to do any restoration work.
It's almost cool too. I mean, as somebody now who has a car that's like excessive at this point, I would basically say,
with carbon.
Yeah, I miss almost like when I first had it, it was cool because you got these little tiny things, and they really excited you, and it was like that's like the most fun part of the build. Like now, everything's big, everything's expensive, so it's like it's cool, but it's like it's like I don't know, it's not as exciting because you're I don't know, it's just different.
I mean, you definitely explored the boundaries of customization with your Q50.
I would say so.
I haven't seen. Well, I won't say because at Nissan Day you get to see some crazy builds.
Yeah.
And every car club that went there, they had dope builds.
The Q50 is a really popular platform, so it's a hard platform to compete in because
Yeah.
there
So
are
many
a lot of
people-
really nice ones.
Right.
I mean, personally, my goal, at least from what I've noticed, like a lot of people, they either have show cars, so like on bags, and they have like the three-piece wheels and all
Or
that,
they're tracking them.
or they're track cars, and I want it to be both. So that's pretty much how I focused on building the car, where I wanted it to be a fun car that I can take to the track, that it'll beat a lot of cars in a race in, but at the same time, I can take it to a show and it can place. And
Right.
that's kind of like the goal that I always had with it, because I don't have the time to just make it a designated track car. I'm just racing
Yeah.
all the time, and I'm not like interested in some of the aspects of show cars to make it a full show
Yeah.
car, basically. So yeah, I try to make it like the best of both worlds, as good as I can, like kind of put a little race into it and a little bit of, you know.
Well, I mean, I guess like the way that you've been modifying that car, it's so unique in the way that you have enough carbon.
Make a new Q50.
Yeah, you could make a McLaren with all the
Pretty
carbon
much,
in
yeah.
your car. But you have the way that you have everything, like it's different from a track build because
Yeah.
if you, so I don't know if you remember, but at one point I think you got like these like carbon covers for like the front of the engine bay.
Okay, yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were like raw carbon
Yeah.
finish, and you asked me like, "Yo, do you know anyone that could
Yeah,
put clear
clear
coat
coat,
on?"
yeah.
Like that's like it's an interesting thing where it's like that's one of those parts that you don't need to add to the car,
Mm-hmm. Right.
but the fact that you're doing all these things that could be considered track modifications, plus
Yeah.
the car making good power,
Yeah.
but you're doing it in a way where it's nice, touched up, polished, and it's but it at the same time is ready to go.
Right.
So I mean, it's to me that I think that's unique because most people, like you said, they'll either go 100%
Yeah, it's like
show
one
or
way or
100%
the other.
track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I try to make it purpose built. Like I try to kind of have a theme and bring it all together as best as I can. Like that's another thing. Like some people, I feel like they have like too many things going on.
Yeah.
I try to keep it where it's like obviously carbon's a big theme on the car.
Right.
The car is red, so I try to keep like the accent things red. Like
Yeah.
as best as I can. So yeah, it's pretty much been that's been like the goal that I've had with that car. I mean,
Yeah. No,
we'll see.
I mean, in terms of power, how
Yeah.
much are you actually making? Or the
So-
last time it was on the dyno, I should say.
So it's kind of it's the for those who don't know, it's a Q50. It's got the VQ37 in it. It's got a Vortex supercharger on it. So with the superchargers, you have different pulleys, and then that's how you can kind of adjust the power. So on my car, there's 3 pulleys. You have a 7-pound, 8-pound, or a 9-pound pulley that you can run. And then obviously you can run flex fuel, so you have 93 octane or ethanol.
Right.
So it really all just depends on what I'm on. But basically on the on like my eco map, like the lowest one that I have on the smallest pulley, it made 540 wheel horsepower. On that same pulley, on like the high horsepower for the pump gas, it made I think 580. And then on ethanol, on the 8-pound pulley, it made around 650.
Wow.
So, and this is all on the stock engine, so it's pretty impressive what the VQ. I mean,
Oh yeah.
like I said, I've never been a huge Nissan guy or anything. I came from like a Subaru background, so I knew nothing about the VQ like when I got into this platform. But I'm like really surprised with how stout of an engine it is. Like I mean, for a stock engine to make that much power and knock on wood reliably, really impressive, honestly. Like I don't know how many, not many engines can do that.
No. Well, and not to go on Subi guys, but especially not Subarus.
No,
I see
trust me.
videos of those things blowing up all
Yeah.
the time. It's either the motor or the trans.
They're very fragile. The trans on them is actually really good, but the engine is they spin bearings a lot and blow head gaskets and stuff. So
Trust me.
yeah.
I've
They
seen
do all that.
I've seen because I mean with those power numbers that you're pushing, I mean say for my platform in the 300ZX, guys usually run reliably. Well, I won't even say reliably. when okay, if you want to say in terms of reliability, it being able to make the power and not blow up,
Right.
around 500.
Okay. Yeah. That's still good.
but that's
though. And it's
still-
also an old engine.
It is.
I mean,
and
it's old technology.
It's also like it's 500 is like your max and everything.
How much does that car weigh? Like 3,000. It's not too heavy, right?
It's about, I think the 2 plus 2 is like 34 or
Yeah, so
3,500.
500 is that's
And
pretty
then
good.
the 2 plus 0, I think, is like 32
Okay.
or something, or 33, something like that.
I think also, I mean, people are actually now starting to talk about this, but I think like social media has kind of ruined people's expectations of like
Oh,
power.
yeah.
Like a 500 wheel
Power
horsepower
scale,
car is great.
real life power scaling
Yeah.
has almost gotten to like an unrealistic
Yeah, like
Dragon Ball Z level,
yeah, exactly. It's
like where you can't even really
everyone's
tell.
a
Like,
Super Saiyan out
yeah,
here.
everything's
Yeah.
like if you're not a Super Saiyan, what are you
Yeah,
really
right.
doing? You know, like because I've heard a lot of people, like almost like laugh at like 3, 4,
Yeah.
500 horsepower, and it's
Yep.
like in a lighter weight car,
You don't need a lot, no.
yo,
And honestly, too, like a lot of people don't. I mean, I think things should be purpose built. So like going to like the Subarus I had, some of them those were just track cars that I had, and they had these huge turbos. So if you did take them on the street, they actually weren't fun because it takes forever to get into boost.
right?
So even though it made a ton of power, it wasn't like a street car
You
though.
weren't able to use
But
it,
like the ones that I had that had like a stock turbo on them that made like 400
and it
wheel or
spool up
something,
super
they were a
fast.
blast. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like I don't know. Yeah, people. I think things have definitely gotten worse though because I remember like when I was younger. I mean, if you made 3 to 400 wheel horsepower, that was like considered like a quick,
yeah.
fun car.
I mean, people forget that the GTR. I think the first GTR had 495
Something
horsepower.
like that. Yeah.
So and
I
remember
mean,
what that was able to do.
supercars used to. I mean, a Viper
Yes,
only had 400 or maybe 500 horsepower.
I think in the early 2000s, I think the highest horsepower like supercars that were
Yeah.
out there, I would say is probably, well, I won't even talk about the Bugatti Veyron because I feel like that's a cheat code.
Yeah.
But I would say probably like the
It's probably the
Zonda,
McLaren or something back in the early
McLaren's,
2000s,
yeah,
right?
yeah, McLaren. I think the McLaren F1,
Something like that.
and that
And
was
then the
90s.
I think the Viper ACRs had like 600 horsepower. I mean,
Murcielagos at 600
yeah.
horsepower. And that was considered like back then. It was like 600 horse.
Yeah.
What? Like that's crazy. Like what are you ever going to use that for?
And now it's like people laugh at it, and it's like, but
Yeah,
these
no.
people who laugh, they've most of the time they've not been in a car with that much power, so
Yeah.
they don't even really know it is fun.
Well, people think that, oh well, I built a 600 horsepower car in Forza and it's
Yeah,
not fast
right.
at all. Like
It's
dude,
different in
yeah.
person.
Like when you actually get to feel it, and you
Right.
realize 600 horsepower.
Yeah,
You gotta, you really gotta drive that
especially
car.
on the street, because I mean,
There's no
there's
prep.
not a lot of there's no prep, there's not a lot of straight shots, and in
Yeah.
New Jersey the roads suck, so it's like
Yeah. Rain makes it almost undrivable. It's horrible.
oh, yeah. So how did you? I guess let's do a little intro because you didn't get into like your background on the first pod, right?
No, not really.
So you want to start with like maybe you could tell the audience like how'd you get into cars and what made you decide to go with the 300ZX of I mean you're a young guy and it's an old car,
Yeah.
so what made you
I
decide to do
bought
that?
my first one at 21
Okay.
for my 21st birthday, January 7th,
Okay.
2020, right before the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
And
So you got to actually enjoy that thing then when
yeah.
there's nobody on the road.
yeah, there's no one on the road. I'm driving. At the time, I was working for StockX,
Yeah.
so I was taking 46, or I could take 80, whichever I wanted. But during the pandemic, dude, it was great.
Yeah. Dude,
It was
I
great.
remember. You just do whatever you wanted.
Dude, I
during that
really got to feel out that car
time. Yeah.
over that summer. There was no one out on the road at all.
That was a good time to be
That
a
was a
car
great
guy.
time. I got to work in 5 minutes. I got home in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I live in Patterson. I worked in Moonachie by Secaucus.
Yeah.
You do the math. but yeah, the 300ZX, I mean, it's always been a car that's been in my life.
Okay.
I've always been into cars,
Okay.
and I've always loved everything about cars. I think the first game system I ever got when I was a kid, I think I was about 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My mom bought me a GameCube,
Okay.
and the game that she got to go with the GameCube was Need for Speed Underground 2.
Oh, that's a great game.
And yeah,
Yeah.
dude,
That's a really good
I'll
game.
go home and play it right now.
That's one of my favorites.
But I remember always starting out, because at first I didn't have a memory card. So you remember
Okay.
back then,
Yeah.
if you didn't have a memory
Yeah, you were
card,
kind
you
of
do what you
shot.
do, and then you
Yeah.
restart the next
Right.
time you, yeah. So I would always start off with the Nissan 240SX,
Okay.
and I used to love the 240SX.
Mhm.
And my uncle always had a 300ZX,
Oh, okay. So
always,
there you go.
always. And usually sometime around the beginning of the summertime, because I used to stay at home with my grandma while my mom went to go work, because my grandma was retired.
Okay.
So he would come by and we would clean his car just in front of the house, like at random.
Mhm.
Like sometimes it'd be in the middle, and I mean in the beginning of the summer, sometimes it'd be in the
Right.
middle, whatever. And then he'd take me out. We'd go get ice cream or go, to like Palisades Mall or, just somewhere, go have fun, go to an
Yeah.
arcade or something. And back then, his 300ZXs were manual.
Oh, okay.
So it was like I was exposed to all that stuff really
Yeah, at a
early,
young age,
especially,
right?
yeah, especially with the 300ZX.
Mhm.
And I remember always being like annoyed that the 300ZX wasn't in Underground 2 because I always
Yeah.
wanted to modify that car so bad. But yeah, outside of that, my uncle's father, my grandfather, used to always take me out to car shows. And I mean, given his taste in cars is more, it's his speed.
Okay.
And it's not like they're cars that I don't like. It's just that he specifically is into cars that are just like solid classic cars,
Yeah.
like
It's like more from his
70,
era, I
yeah, like
guess.
50 to like
Right.
early 80s max.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And in fact, he's seen my Z and he loves it.
Yeah.
So, car guy's a car guy at the end
Yeah.
of the day. But constantly being introduced to car stuff at an early age, race cars, all different types of
Mhm.
builds. Fast forward almost 20 years, I'm working at StockX, I'm really going crazy because I really, really, really want a car. I've always loved driving, still do. And all I could drive at the time was my mom's Sentra. And I was like, I really want my own car. So I'm saving, I'm saving, I'm saving. And one of my best friends, Alex,
Mhm.
who I don't remember what kind of car he had at the time. I want to say it was an E46 BMW
Okay. Yeah,
3
those are
Series.
nice.
Yeah. And he loved that thing. It was a silver E46. I'm sure he
Yeah.
would take it back any day between that and one of his other cars. But I remember him just like, because he knows my style in cars, because we've played like Car X Racing together and like Forza. So he knows my taste in cars and what I
Right.
like. So he's like rapid fire just every day, bombarding my phone with different Facebook
Yeah.
Marketplace listings. And I remember the first car that I actually went to go look at.
Mhm.
It was a E92
Oh yeah,
BMW.
those are nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was a 328. I mean, it's first car.
Body
So I didn't
style
need
is
a
still nice though.
335 for the
Yeah.
first car. But, it was like a champagne color,
Mhm.
tan interior, bone stock. It, I thought it looked great. We went to go see it. It was at a used car dealer in Patterson. The guys wanted 7 grand for it.
Okay.
And at the time, I only had like 3,500 saved up, which
Right.
I saved up really fast. At the time, I had like no bills, no
Yeah.
nothing. So like all my paychecks are going to like lunch, and the rest is getting
Yeah.
pocketed. I'm like, I need a car. And my mom, she was like, I really don't think that you should get this. She's like, I don't think it's the right move.
Mhm.
One, because she just saw BMW and paired that with first car, and then cost of maintenance, and rightfully so.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Because I feel like if I would have got that car and something would have messed up on it with what I was making at StockX at the time, they would have been down for a
Right.
while. So she helped me dodge a bullet there.
Mhm.
But that was, and I still like the E92. I
Yeah,
would
I
still like
like
to
that
own
body
one.
style
I
a
think
lot.
it
Yeah.
looks, I think that's such a
Nice.
pretty car.
Really nice.
But I want to say that was in like September.
Mhm.
And by like late November, I think it was right after Thanksgiving, Alex sends me this red 300ZX
Mhm.
that's for sale in Union City. Guy has it listed for, I think it was $3,000.
Perfect.
And that was the first 300ZX he sent me. He didn't send me anything else like
Right.
that. He had sent me E36, like older school BMWs. He had sent me like newer school BMWs. He sent me E46s, like what he has.
Yeah.
He sent me different Hondas, and he sent me that 300ZX. As soon as I saw the photo, I was like, I need that. I was like, yo, I think this is it. And I remember messaging the owner, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, it's leaking oil, and what else? Oh, he said it had a misfire. It's leaking oil.
Okay.
Had an oil leak and a misfire. And I said, well, when can I come by and see it? I said, are you negotiable on the price at all? He said, yeah. Over the phone, I think I negotiated him down to 2,700.
Okay.
And when we went, Alex took me. When we went to go look at it, we looked over it. I won't say the best because we missed a giant rust spot on the frame rail. I'm pretty sure the owner was like, we didn't see the rust. Yeah, but we talked them down a couple $100 more. I think I ended up paying $2,300 for the car.
Not bad though.
Not
Especially
bad
for
at
a first car.
Yo, and a
It's
300ZX.
a cool car for a first car.
You find me a running and driving 300ZX
Oh, now you
today
know,
for
no shot.
$2,300.
No shot.
So
Especially in decent shape. Like,
exactly.
You know.
And it wasn't in the best shape, but I had some dents on the fender. That was it at the time.
It's an old car, so.
Yeah, old car at the time. It was a 31-year-old car. It was a 1990 300ZX, an Aztec red, naturally aspirated, automatic, tweed, like a weird tweed fabric interior. Like it was the bare bones. It was as low as you could get for a 300ZX, and a 2+2, which made it cheaper.
Okay.
But I gave him cash on the spot, and while we were there, he had admitted to me that he's like, oh, I didn't really want to sell the car, but he was having like I think a daughter or something, so he had to, and he had a 5 Series that he was working on too, so he couldn't do both at the same time. But that's how I ended up getting into the 300ZX, and without Alex, I probably wouldn't have found that because it wasn't even in my mind.
Right.
But when I saw it and I remembered,
It just clicked.
it just clicked. All the memories of washing my uncle's 300ZX and how much I enjoyed his car and how much I always wanted to mod that car on video games. Like, well, why don't I do it in real life? Why not? Like, I couldn't see anything going wrong until I got a $2,400 repair bill to fix the misfire and the oil leak. So,
how many ZXs have you had now? That was your first one, so.
That was my first one. And then that one got hit.
Okay.
So, okay. Okay. When I got that first 300ZX, the one thing that I really wanted to do was shoot flames.
Okay.
And this goes down just like everyone. I've been down Frankie's Road. I've been down, and plenty of other people have followed me down this road, and there's plenty more to come, I can see.
Yeah,
but
there's no shortage of it.
But so I wanted to shoot flames.
Yeah.
And did research, found out that the 300ZX isn't exactly the easiest platform to tune with a stock ECU.
Okay.
So it's not as simple as today. You plug it in and mess around with a couple values and no. 300ZX, you gotta do this little chip socket thing on the ECU, and every different map you have to put in a new chip.
Okay, yeah,
so it's
a hassle.
It's a hassle. If you want to do stock ECU, or you could pay $3,000-$4,000 for a Haltech.
Yeah.
But then you have to redo the whole thing.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out, well, how can I make this car shoot flames? I can't tune it. I can't put a flame map on it. So, what do I do?
Right.
So I'm looking through, constantly YouTubing 300ZX shooting flames, 300ZX shooting flames. And I'm going through all of them. And they all are shooting flames the exact same way. And I'm like, how are these guys getting this car to do this?
Right.
I want to do it. When I bounce off the rev limiter, I don't do anything but rev. So I eventually ended up finding out that there was a guy on some video that his flames looked nice,
Yeah.
and I simply left a comment like, "Hey, what did you do to get your car to do this?"
Right.
And he told me I used a BR rev limiter.
Okay.
No clue what that was.
Yeah, me neither. What is it?
So it's a two-step rev limiter.
Okay.
So the old school way. So you put it in, connect it. I didn't do it.
Right.
My previous mechanic,
Okay.
Jackie, he's the one that put it in for me. When it came in, everything was in Japanese. I
Right.
didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah.
But he's the one that installed it, and he warned me of what could happen, when you use it and abuse it. And I simply did not listen to him, and I thought I would be just fine because I've seen people using and abusing them online already. So I was like, nothing's gonna happen to me. They're fine. I'm looking at videos like Black Widow Supra, people just going crazy with these things. And I don't know if he uses a BR, but that's like the type of thing that it
Right.
was. So basically, the way that it worked, you had 3 knobs on it. If I remember correctly, the first knob, which was the white knob, controlled where your secondary red line was.
Okay.
So if your factory red line was 7,500, you had the third knob, which is the red one. You would set that to a certain number, and it would set itself, and like the module would let itself know, okay, your factory red line is 7,500. Then the white knob, which is the one on the other side, and mind you, I don't know if it's exactly this same organization. I think it's white, yellow, red, but it could be different. I don't know. I'm sure I'll get corrected. But it's been a while since I've been in that car.
Right.
But you had another knob that would set your secondary rev limit.
Okay.
What that would do is when you hit that, so say you set it at 4,500.
Right.
When you rev the car out and the BR is activated, it would cut spark. So your fuel would go in and then go straight to your exhaust.
Okay.
And it would hit the hot exhaust and boom.
Okay.
And you had the last knob, which would basically control how aggressive it was.
Yeah.
So you
Something
could
out of a Fast and the Furious
yes,
movie.
you could control how fast and how rapid it shot.
Okay.
And how far the gaps were in between flames. And a couple nights I had been messing around with it, and I found the perfect, to me, setup for it. And it was so aggressive. It sounded like a machine gun, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And every bang, it shot a flame. It didn't
Like
miss.
AK-47 out there.
AK-47, absolutely.
Oh, man.
And I had even been caught red-handed shooting flames in Patterson, testing stuff out with friends. And I have those videos too. I'll probably throw in there, but found it perfect, abused it, used it every day. I mean every day. On the way to work, because there's no cars on the road, and I had no one to show off to.
Right.
So every car I passed, I'm just like, boom, 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 boom. Like I was just abusing it every day. At every opportunity I got to use it, especially at car meets, I used it. I was that guy.
That's pretty much how it goes, I think. Like when you first get it, that's what everybody does.
Yep. And I don't remember how many months. I think I might have had it on there 2 or 3 months. Was about all the motor could take. And my friend Eric, he lives in Patterson. I want to say a couple blocks away from me. And Eric lives in an apartment building on Park Ave that, I think he was on the 6th or 7th floor. So he had a really good view. And I don't remember if he had a friend over or I don't remember what it was, but I was just at Bunker Hill, which in the Northeast, Bunker Hill should ring a bell to you. But I was just at Bunker Hill. Nothing was going on there. Yeah. But I was there with Alex, and I believe he was teaching one of his friends how to drive stick in his E46. And I'm leaving Bunker Hill. I'm on my way home, and I believe Eric had called me, and he said, "Hey." I think he said that he had someone over and that they wanted to see the car shoot flames. So he asked me if I could come by, just go down his street and shoot flames real quick. And I said, of course I can.
I'm so glad you asked.
I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. Of course I will. I needed something else to do, right? So at this point, I just know the BR in the car to the T. So I think, and it works best when the exhaust is already pretty warm. And so there's a light right before his house.
Okay.
And so I hit it for probably about 3 or 4 seconds
Uh-huh.
at that light. And it was weird because right after I did that, the car did something it never did before and it started misfiring. Or at least
Okay.
that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because it started vibrating and it was running kind of weak. And I was like, what? Like, that's weird. So I pulled over, turned the car off, turned it back on. Fine. Perfectly fine. And I didn't think anything of it because I've seen videos where after people use a BR, it causes the car to misfire. So I'm thinking it just happened to do that, even though it's never done that the whole time that I've used it before. So I don't notice anything. Everything sounded fine. Everything was running fine. There were no strange noises. Everything seemed fine. I get over to Eric's block and I let the car roll probably about 3 or 4 miles an hour, hit it again, and it shoots normal for like the first 1.5 seconds. So it goes from ba 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 ba, and then all of a sudden, and I didn't change anything. It goes from ba 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 to bum 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 bum, and I'm like, what? And me being dumb, I stayed in it, and I stopped, and then I rolled off, and I called Eric, and I go, yo, did anything look different about the flames? And he was like, no, they just shot normal blue flame because that car shot like blue, like a
Okay.
decent mix of blue and yellow flames. No idea why to this day.
Yeah.
It's just that's what it did.
All right.
And I said, anything look different or weird? And he was like, no, it seemed normal to me. I was like, okay. Hung up, rolled the windows down, rolled to the stop sign. And as I rolled to the stop sign, as the car is decelling, all I hear is the knocking. And I'm just like, oh no,
There it goes.
that sounds bad. And at the time, I didn't know what, rod knock
Yeah.
was or anything like that. I just knew, well, motor ain't supposed to make that noise.
Right.
So, like, trying to calm myself down, I'm like, oh, maybe I knocked something loose. so, so I revved it a couple times, to see if it kept making the noise. It did, and it changed with RPM.
That was the
which
end of that.
yeah, I went to the gas station. I checked the oil. I was like, maybe it's
Right.
low on oil.
Yeah.
It was like a millimeter off of full.
Right.
And so I bought a 1 quart thing from the gas station and poured like a little bit in there. And I'm like, maybe it'll go away. It didn't go away. So I parked it, woke up the next day, and I'm like, maybe it'll be fine in the morning. Somehow. Like
You
maybe
just needed to sleep.
yeah, it just needs some sleep. That's
some
all.
rest.
Yeah, it just needs some rest. Same thing. So my mechanic at the time, Jackie, and he was the only one that warned me about this. My friend Jermaine warned me about it, which he'll be on a future podcast as well. He warned me about it. Jackie warned me about it. And I think that was it. I
Yeah.
think those are the only people that did. But those were the only people at the time that I could say, like, they at the time cared about, like, yo, I don't want you to mess this car
Right.
up.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. And then I messed it up.
Yeah.
So, me being the smart guy that I am, I drove the car all the way from Patterson to Bloomingdale
Nice.
with a rod knock. By the time it got to the shop, it sounded like a jackhammer. And Jackie came running out the shop, like flagging me to turn the car off.
Yeah.
Turn it off, turn it off. So, assuming he didn't want it to blow up and then
Right.
have oil all over his lot. So yeah, so the car ended up sitting there. I dropped the car off. I think it was still 2020. The car didn't even last a year. That motor, I should say.
Right.
I think I dropped it off in October, and by December or late November, I had made the decision. Okay, I want to do twin turbo. Let's do a twin turbo swap. Because at that point, I didn't see the point in putting another NA in it. It didn't make sense to me. And I said, well, for an extra grand or two, I'd rather just go TT. And that's what we decided to do. And for reasons that I won't discuss on this particular podcast, I don't want to blow up anyone's business
Okay.
per se. I don't want to make it seem like I'm a villain anywhere, but, and when I say this, it's just my truth and what happened.
Mm-hmm.
The car ended up sitting for, I want to say, 2.5 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So 2.5 years of, so December, I pulled the trigger on that decision. I think he had said to me that, because I asked him, okay, well, how much money is this all going to run me?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I could get you, a good, and this is all in message.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I can get you a good TT and Source One. And he was like, let's just do $7,000 to cover parts.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, cool, that's reasonable. So that was, I had a really good year, 2021.
Yeah.
Made some pretty good money from COVID and so many other things of my own business.
Mm-hmm.
By March, I got him the full 7,000. And I believe sometime around then, when I had gave him that whole 7,000, I asked him, okay, so when do you think the car will be ready to go? And he said, oh, probably by August.
Okay.
I said, okay, cool. I'm down to wait. I don't
Yeah.
care. Because at the time, I wasn't in the car club. I was only going to meets occasionally.
Right.
And outside of that, I was really just working. Because at the time, 2021, most stuff wasn't really
Yeah, you were
fully
still kind
open
of getting
yet.
back into
Yeah.
the
So
yeah.
I wasn't really doing anything. So I was, super, super lenient. And I was 100% willing to wait.
Mm-hmm.
And August rolled around. And it wasn't done yet. And the old blown motor was still in there. And, so we get to where the due date was supposed to be initially, and the motor still wasn't even,
Yeah,
nothing.
So
The
nothing's
car
been
hadn't
done.
been touched.
Yeah, right.
And I'd given $7,000 already.
Mm-hmm.
So, parts were purchased and everything like that. Custom one-piece drive shaft, the whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
And I credit him for that. He went to, reputable people, and initially they sent the wrong size thing once stuff was getting fitted, and he made sure everything was right.
Yeah.
But, we kept blowing by due date after due date after due
Yeah.
date, and waiting became harder and harder and harder. And he promised that I'd get you good turbos. I'll make sure the motor's solid. And when it came time to do the first start, I wanted to be there to record it for content purposes.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, he had notified me that they were about to start the car, and I made my way up there, purchased an Uber already. By the time I was there, the car was moved from where it was, and it was parked on the side, like by the entrance.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of cardboard where the car was parked, and there was just a giant pool of oil on the ground.
Not a good sign.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, like what happened?
Yeah.
So he basically said that I think the passenger side turbo return line had popped off.
Okay,
And
so
it
that's not
spilled turbo on
end
the
of the
ground.
world,
I mean, yeah, it spilled oil on the ground.
Right.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. I was like, whatever. I was like, do you think we could start it again just so I can get it on video? He's like, I don't feel comfortable starting it again. I was like, valid. I was like,
Yeah.
whatever you. I was like, this is how I am with people that I trust with my car.
Right.
If you feel as though something is good,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever benefits the car more, I'm gonna roll with that. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go against the grain. If you tell me what it is, I'm gonna go with what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna trust you. So, fast forward, I want to say, because he ordered another return line.
Yeah.
Fast forward a couple more weeks, I want to say, and he calls me, and I think we were a couple weeks away from the due date.
Okay.
There was only a handful of things that needed to be done, and given the one time I did later after he replaced the oil line that had popped off or broke or whatever it was, I came up there to see it run once, but it was smoking a lot.
Okay.
Well, not a lot. It was just smoking casually on idle enough for you to notice it. And it was like, I wasn't completely happy with that.
Right.
But at this point, I had waited so
Yeah, you just
long.
want to have your car back for all.
I just wanted to have the car back.
Right.
And I was like, whatever. If I got to deal with replacing turbos sooner than later, I'll do it. You know, that wasn't exactly what he promised me, but I'll put up with it. I just
Right.
want the car back. And I want to say, fast forward, I want to say like a couple weeks after, he calls me and he says, hey man, I just want to let you know I took the car out on a test drive and we brought it back and now it's knocking.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that twin turbo motor, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't put blame on
And how
anyone.
long is this now? This is like a year or 2 years into it?
Into the process, I want to say about we're going close to. I think this was like a year and a half,
Oh, wow.
going into like a year and 3/4, around that time frame. So, that happens. That motor's blown. So he ends up crediting me and giving me back cash $3,000, which
Okay.
is what he said that he charged me for the motor, which is cool. So now technically I've given him $5,000.
Right.
I got the $3,000 back, and he says that he doesn't want responsibility for sourcing the motor anymore, and I guess it's just because of stuff like that. You know, it
Right,
is what
yeah.
it is. And he asked if I could source a twin turbo. I do some digging, do some looking around, can't find nothing really good.
Okay.
So I was so fed up and tired of waiting at this point, I went and bought a a built bottom end block,
Okay.
short block.
Yeah.
I bought a fully built short block from Z Shack in Texas
Okay.
for it was like $7,100,
Okay.
and I affirmed it
All right.
because I was like, I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah, you just want your
I
car
just
back
need
up on the
something,
road. Yeah.
So I contacted Jackie first and I said, hey, I'm going to get the short block from Z Shack, which I think he had mentioned to me too.
Yeah.
And I obviously ended up going with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, can we use, or I said, what can we use? Like, do I need to buy anything else or
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And he was like, don't worry about it. We'll use the heads from the other twin turbo that blew
Right.
up because the heads are fine.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. As long as you could do that, then I'm fine with it. And yeah, so I had that motor crate shipped to him, his shop, and I mean, once again, with that, we kept blowing by due date after due date after due date to have the car up and running. And I mean, after a while, because I think I had told him, hey, I wanted the car for February. This is 2023 now. I wanted the car for Valentine's Day. Or before Valentine's Day, I think. I told him I wanted it for by the 10th.
Okay.
And I went up there and talked to him on my birthday, or the day after my birthday, something like that.
Right.
And I had a real one-on-one talk with him. And I was like, do you still want to work on the car? Like, is this, do I have to find someone else? I won't feel any type of way. Just let me know so I can make
so
the
you stop
necessary
wasting
moves.
your
Yeah,
time.
I won't be mad. And I told him that. I said, I won't be mad. I just want the car back.
Yeah.
And he understood that. And I said, do you think you can 100% hit this due date? And he was like, yes. And I have that recorded too.
Okay. It's got
So
the receipts.
I have the receipts. I have the receipts. And so he said yes, and that didn't happen. And I believe, I don't remember if it was the day of or the day after, that I believe he ended up just calling me and saying hey, look, I think it would be better off if you just went to Corey, who's my current mechanic.
Okay.
And I had known Corey a little bit. I knew him more from his cars going viral. And, but yeah, he told me, hey, I think it'd be better if you just went with Corey at this point because, I don't have the time to work on it, or I forget how he worded it.
Yeah.
If it's in message, then I'll try to find it. If not, then just know that that's what he said to me, something
Right.
along those lines. Basically that he didn't want to work on the car anymore. And he was starting to shift to just BMWs.
Okay.
at the time, my car was the last or one of the last 300ZXs on his
Right.
lot. It had been there for the longest.
Yeah.
It was by the
It's
time,
like the OG at that
yeah,
point.
it was. And there's a lot of Beamer guys that have said, "Oh yeah, I know your car
Yeah.
from Corey shop. I mean, not Corey, from Jackie shop." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks."
That sucks. It's so hard to find like good shop. Honestly, just everything. All businesses across the board. I feel like, especially since
Yeah.
COVID, it's just hard to find good people to work with on like any project that you're trying to do.
And you know, it's tough because when I first got that 300ZX, he, because I used to go to Garden State Plaza to get food after work
Okay.
every day. So right after I had put my Instagram handle on the rear quarter window, he's the one that DM'd me. So he saw my car in the parking lot and said,
Oh,
"Hey,"
okay.
because at the time he only did 300ZXs.
Yeah,
He
so like his bread
specialized
and
in them.
butter. Yeah.
Yeah, so he had hit me up, DM'd me, and I think the first DM he sent me was something like, "Hey man, I saw your Z at the GSP parking lot. I specialize in them, so if you need anything, let me know." And at the time, I had an oil leak and a misfire.
Okay. So you needed
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So I was looking for someone,
Yeah.
and he did great on that. You know, like, was I paying kind of a premium? I don't even feel like I'm in a place to gauge that, but I feel like yes.
Yeah.
But the expense, I felt like I was paying for quality.
Right.
And, you know, he seemed like a cool guy, which he is. You know, but he handled that situation
Yeah.
so well, and you know, he got that done in a reasonable time, and he was so good with communication that I felt like when I did this to my own car and you know, this is what we wanted to do, I felt like it would get handled the same way, and
Right.
unfortunately it just wasn't. And the longer things took, the worse the communication got. And I think it was more because he felt kind of, you know, I don't want to say disappointed in himself,
Yeah. Probably
but
embarrassed
yeah,
to some
I guess
extent.
like some
You know.
embarrassment's there, and he just like wasn't 100% sure how to
Right.
deal with the situation because he knew that he was at fault, and so he didn't want to constantly have those
Yeah.
conversations with me, which at the time I had no like animosity or anything like that toward him
I
whatsoever.
don't, you know, and it's weird because a lot of shops they start off great. Like this is a common story that you hear from a lot of people where they go to a shop, it's this great experience, and then the next time around, or once you have like a larger scale project, like I don't know if it's that they bite off more than they can chew,
I think that's what it
or like
is.
what happens because
Yeah.
it's like all of a sudden it's like a 180, and it's like if it's like a new owner or a new mechanic or whatever at the shop, like maybe that would explain it, but that's not the case a lot of times. It's like the same
Yeah.
person, but they're like a different person. Like it's I don't
Yeah.
know, it's bizarre.
And I mean, I not to say that because I'm sure his quality of work when working on BMWs that he works on now, I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have a BMW,
Yeah.
and I
It doesn't
don't.
do you any good.
Yeah, I don't. I only know a handful of people that have gone to Jackie, and I'm
Yeah.
not like super super close with them.
Right.
But towards the end, man, like when Corey went to go pick up my motor, and you know there was kind of like a contract that they had, you know, written up. I believe Corey had it written up where his his brand and Strange Restorations was only responsible for installing the motor into my car.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause they don't want to be liable if
They
there's
don't want
something
to be
wrong with the
liable if
motor.
something's wrong with
Yeah.
the motor. Corey became aware of how long I've been waiting for this car to be
Right.
done. And he was like, "Well, I kind of want to double check and make sure everything is right."
Yeah.
And, you know, he ended up finding some stuff that wasn't right at all
Right.
on the outside of the motor. And that was a big red flag.
Right.
And so, you know, he ended up looking inside the motor, and there's, you know, like debris sitting on top of piston heads
Probably sitting
inside the motor.
outside for like
Yeah,
a
and
year
it's
or
like
whatever.
the more we took apart that motor, unfortunately, the worse it got. And you know, I'm getting sent videos and photos of Loctite being used on head studs. Things not being torqued down all the way, like
Right.
crucial parts of the motor that are
It's like sloppy work.
not even
basically.
hand tight, like
Yeah.
they're just loose. They're, you know, it's just in there. And It's unfortunate, and I never really got a clear answer on who put my motor together. But it was really subpar. I was really kind of agitated by that
You know, you're a
because,
paying customer, and
yeah,
you waited. I mean,
I
not
waited
only did you pay,
patiently,
but you waited a long time for it
patiently.
to not even done, you know,
I
correctly.
never went up there and went crazy.
Yeah,
I used to come up there, chill.
that's the worst part. Like, I'm the kind of customer where, like, if I trust you and you're a good shop and I know that or whatever, and you tell me it needs this, this, and this, and this, and this, here's my credit card, like, do it. You know, like, I'm not gonna bother you about the price. Just do it and do it right. Like, that's like
Yeah,
my thing. And
that's all I wanted.
I feel like that's like what would be their dream customer is like somebody who's paying them what they ask. Like, I'm doing my part of the contract, right? I'm
Right.
paying you.
Right.
You do yours
There's
now.
nothing more that I can do,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I felt like that's where I was, and I don't know, like I felt like I developed a great
Yeah.
relationship with Jackie.
I think it's almost like they kind of take advantage of the fact that like if you are
Too
like
nice.
when we're doing that, like when we're not being difficult, they kind of are like, oh, like we kind of put this guy on the
Oh,
back
I could
burner
push him back. I
maybe.
know he's not
Yeah.
going to be mad about it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard to find a good shop. Like you know, like I said, I had a bunch of Subarus, so I've been through many shops, you know, a couple motors and whatnot over the years.
You
And
ever go to Primitive?
Primitive? No.
Is it? I think
You
it
mean
might be
Prime? Prime motoring? Yeah.
Prime motoring.
Yeah, I've been there before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so actually I was in Bergen Community College with this kid, Dimitri, who was actually cousins with the guy who owns Prime. I forget
Oh,
what his name is now. I haven't been there in years, but yeah. So they used to own or work at or do something with Turbo Tricks. Like Junior
okay.
used to tune out of there,
Okay, cool.
and then they had some other shop, and then they eventually opened up Prime. So I took a couple of them over there for like small stuff. Like I never really had them do anything big for me, but it's like little odd jobs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I never had actually no, Junior did tune one of my STIs, but I always went with Mikey. I guess shout out to you, Mikey Body. He did all my STIs, and not that there's anything wrong with Junior. Junior's great, but I always just got recommended to Mikey at a young age when I had my Subaru, so I just kind of stuck with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I went to a bunch of different shops though for mechanical stuff, and same thing where it's like you pay the guy and it's sitting there for 3 months, and you're like, you know, what the
Yeah.
hell's going on, you know?
And that's what. So like once Corey finally picked up my car,
Yeah,
and we sorted everything out, because once we saw the stuff that were red flags on the outside, I was like, honestly, forget that contract.
yeah,
If I got to pay you extra to go through this motor and make sure it's solid,
yeah. You'd rather just get it done right.
yes.
And at
And
this point,
so,
you're sick of waiting.
yes, I'm so sick of waiting.
Yeah.
And I told Corey, I said, bro, if you can promise me that that you go through this thing and you sort out every issue that it has, as long as it's within like realm of possibility and it's going to be solid, by all means,
Yeah.
do what you got to do.
It's
Write
almost
me
like
the
here's a
bill.
blank check at this point. Just
Yes.
get
I was
this
like,
thing
yo,
up and
do
running.
what you got to do, bro.
Yeah.
Write me the check. I mean, not write me the check. Send me the invoice. Money's yours.
Yep.
Promise. And you
It's,
got
it's,
it.
a, it's a great feeling when it
Yo.
works out.
Corey was like, at the time, felt like a godsend.
Yeah.
Because he picked it up, and a couple days after he picked it up, and he had finished going through everything and showing me, because there were certain things that were wrong with it that he wanted me to see with my own two eyes.
Right.
And so,
Which is also nice too, because then you know he's building that confident. He's building your confidence in him.
Yeah.
By being like a open door policy. Like there's transparency. Like look, this is what we're dealing with, and then
yeah.
now he's not blowing smoke if he's
Right.
like, hey, we need to do
Right.
whatever.
And I could see, like, after I saw how many things were wrong with the way that motor was put together,
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of
At a
just,
certain point, you're just like,
yeah, I kind of felt like, well, okay, they didn't want to work on 300ZXs anymore.
Right.
Maybe mine was like the last one, and they just wanted to get it out the door since it's going to be someone else's problem. But the reason why it agitated me was because I was like, we were this close to just throwing that motor in there, and it would have blew up, and I would have been
And then you'd have been out
$7,000 down the
another-
hole.
Right. Yeah.
So, that was what, agitated me. I was like, well, why would you, I'm not even going to share what that phone call
Right, yeah.
interaction after that, but
Well, it stinks too when you feel like you've built a relationship with
And then
somebody.
something like that happens, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, what did I do to you
Right.
that made you want to do this to me?
Yeah.
Like, you would have been better off just don't even put it together and just
Right.
let them pick up the pieces and put
Yeah.
it together themselves.
Exactly. Yep.
But what happened, and I think Jackie's a cool guy.
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of these shops they take on like way too much work, and
yeah,
so like I did a little stint in like construction work, and I think it's a similar thing where these contractors, they'll send you a $20,000 bill or whatever, and you pay them 10 grand, but that 10 grand's not going towards your like materials. It's going towards the guy before you use materials, and then the next guy is who's paying for your materials, and that's why there's that like 6 month turnaround because like they're never the way that they use their money and stuff. It's like all over the place. I think a lot of shops are like that where like you might have sent that guy 7 grand or whatever, and that might have went into Bob's build, and he's waiting for Jimmy to come by and give him
right.
7 grand to put into your build or
Well,
whatever.
the thing is too is like throughout the whole time my car is sitting there, and this is not a shot at Jackie. It's just things that I notice. He's buying new M3s
Yeah, that's what I mean.
the
Like,
whole
where's the
time,
money going?
and it's like cool, and I was legitimately happy for him,
Yeah,
dude. Really, because
yeah.
I remember, I don't know how many M3s he has now. I know he had an M30. I know he had an E30. No, did he? I think he had an E30,
Okay.
an E36, an E46, an E92, and I don't know BMW trims all that well, but I think he was looking at an F80.
Okay.
So this is before he had an F80. I was still there. And I remember him saying, "Oh, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I would afford that." I said, "Bro, you already have all these
Right.
other
Yeah.
M3s." I said, "You keep going on this track, you can make it happen." And I remember when he bought it, I was so happy. I
Yeah.
was so happy because this is a guy that I saw when he just had an E92 and I think an E46.
They saw him as like a friend at this point,
Yeah,
so you're
and this
like
is
you're
before he had
cheering
all
for
these
him
cars.
to
I
succeed.
I saw when he bought the E36 and the E30. I believe he had an E30. I believe he had an E30.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I think he had an E30. But I know for sure he had a 36 and 46 and a 92.
He's pretty much
And
got
he,
all of them.
yeah, pretty much got all of
It's
them.
like
So,
Pokemon, collect them
yeah,
all.
pretty much. But I was genuinely happy, and it just sucked because it's like, I just wanted that good
Yeah.
relationship, and it's like it almost felt like a like someone like a I don't want to say a backstab because that's not what happened, but like
Yeah.
like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
It
It
kind of
wasn't
sucked.
the sentiment wasn't like reciprocated to you. Like
Yeah,
you were being a good customer, and he wasn't
yeah,
being a
and
good employee. You're
right,
employing him basically, so it's like
it's tough, but like I said, Corey came through and he fixed. It was just everything that I was looking for
yeah,
was what Corey was.
yeah,
Dude, after we sorted all the problems with the motor, came up there a couple days later, and he's surrounded by there's like 3 or 4 giant white tables
right,
with cloths over them, motors in pieces. Everything was taken apart, labeled on the table, cleaned thoroughly, put back together, and broken in properly. Part of the break-in process I did, and he showed me how to do it, what I was and wasn't supposed to
okay,
do, in terms of just seating piston rings and stuff like that. But Corey had that car done. He took it in February. He had to finish when he took it. He had to finish. I think it was one car that he was working on. I think it was a Subaru Forester.
okay,
It's doing like a weird over like fender flare wide
yeah,
body kit and paint
okay,
job to it.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever. It looked clean.
yeah,
But he had to finish that first, and as soon as he finished it, it was just my car,
yeah,
and I think he got it done. I got the car in, I think, June,
okay,
so about 4 months.
That's
for
one like eighth of the amount of
yeah,
time that the
yeah,
previous shop took.
yeah. So and given it was a pretty penny,
Yeah,
but I had a running and driving
yeah.
built bottom
I
end
think
twin turbo.
customers, and for the most part, like you don't mind spending money when you know you're getting a good product at the end of the day. You know.
That car, I enjoyed driving that car so much
Yeah.
that I forgot about how much I paid for it
Yeah.
every time I
Yeah.
drove it.
Yeah. So you didn't even care.
It just brought so much joy to me to
Yep.
drive that car. But yeah, he finished it up and he told me straight like this. He said, "Man, you've been waiting for this car for so long. Don't worry about the little stuff."
Yeah.
He said, "You're on like emergency contact on my phone. So if anything happens, anything goes wrong at all, anything starts acting weird, call me.
Yeah.
I will pick up and I'm ready to go.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm answering all questions right away."
That's rare. So that's nice to
Yo,
find. You know what I
Corey
mean?
was awesome
Yeah.
throughout the whole process. And when that car eventually got hit, I left it parked outside in front of my house, which I typically never do, and then went to work.
Yeah.
And so on my way back home, my mom's bringing me back home, and my I just got off the phone with my grandma because we were trying to figure out what we were going to eat, and I can't even remember what we decided on.
Yeah.
But we were literally entering Patterson, and she calls back, and she's just like frantic, like, "Someone just hit your car! Someone just hit your car!
Yeah.
Hurry up! Someone just hit your car!" And off rip, because my mom heard me just say my car, and she knows me, and the first words out of her mouth is, "Dior, calm down, calm down, calm down." So none of that helped. I was just
Yeah.
thinking about my car,
Right.
and I hadn't even had it for a year, and so we pull up. I'm so full of adrenaline. I hop out my mom's car before she even stopped. My car on the scene was pushed back, I want to say about a car length and a half. The Charger that hit my car was on fire in the front. And the entire front of the car was just obliterated.
Yeah.
It looked like a RPG hit the front of my car.
Crazy too. Is you waited all that time to get it,
Yeah.
and then this
Just
happens.
started. We just finished the break-in process.
Right.
I had did like a little over 3,000 miles on the motor. It was running great. We just turned the boost up a little bit.
Yeah.
I was going to buy all the stuff to turn the boost up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Get close to the max for the stock turbos, and then we're going to do a manual swap. Those were the next steps.
Yeah.
And it was right there. I had the money to do it. Everything was ready to go.
Oh my God.
And the one day I leave my car parked outside, and the car was stolen to rub salt into the wounds. Car was stolen. By the time I got there, the guy was gone. Left the car there, took the plate off, and I was a wreck.
No, I can
I was
imagine.
like, I didn't know what to do. I just spent, it was a pretty high amount. I don't know an exact number. Videos coming on my personal YouTube channel soon going over how much I spent on that car. Actually, I'll have all the receipts and all the paperwork so you guys know in case you want to build a 300ZX, you know roughly what you're getting yourself into. But it was 5 figures.
Yeah,
For sure.
easily.
What
Yeah,
I spent on that car, and we hadn't even done cosmetics yet. So it was
car scene's
mechanically
not for the
not for the weak
no,
or faint of
no.
heart.
You need deep pockets and patience and
It was like 85% mechanically
where you
as
want it
perfect
to
as you
be.
could get.
Yeah.
The only thing else I could have did was get stronger axles,
Okay.
and then with the drivetrain, like with the transmission specifically, I could do like crazy strong grabby clutches. That's really it.
Yeah.
So anyway, right after that one gets hit, Corey confirms to me, says, "Hey, the frame's straight. You're good to go." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I want to rebuild it, but I need another car in the meantime because I could only imagine that this is going to be a super quick job,
Right.
right? Because you need a whole front clip, and
right.
we don't even know all the extent of what's been damaged and what hasn't been. So, Corey ends up throwing me an offer with his, at the time was his daily, which was the red car, the red 300ZX,
Yeah.
and the other red 300ZX.
Okay.
So I ended up buying that from him after insurance paid me out. And so I bought that car in, this is all the same year now.
Yeah.
I bought that car in, I want to say, that's crazy, around the same time, June
Yeah.
or July. I bought that car, and it, I bought it to a couple shows,
Right. Yeah.
and it took home first place at Nissan Day.
Yep.
And then just this past thing, what
Not even a month
wasn't
ago,
it?
right?
It was, I want to say a couple days after we filmed the first podcast.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you were in the middle of editing, I think.
Yeah, literally when it happened. Jason, do you remember what day we filmed the first podcast? It was a Saturday.
It was a Saturday. I remember.
I think it might have been the week before.
Mhm.
Because the accident happened December 22nd.
Okay.
So I'm outside editing to try and make sure that everything's good so that we can upload the first podcast on Christmas when it's supposed to be editing. I'm already dressed because I had some footage that I wanted to use for the intro in my SD card, and I accidentally left my camera in the car. So I'm already dressed to go outside, and I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for something to load on the laptop for Filmora, which is what I use to edit everything. And all of a sudden, it sounded like a bomb went off outside. And I'm like, what was that? Like
it's the red Z's, man. They're cursed.
Dude, it was so
You
loud.
gotta paint that thing blue or something.
Yeah, or get a black one.
Yeah, right, something. Dude.
It was so loud, I thought there was like a head-on collision outside.
Yeah.
So, but this was the first red flag to me.
Right.
So my uncle's car was parked behind mine. And my uncle's 300ZX, yes, he had a 300ZX too. It is gone. But my uncle's 300ZX used to have issues with the horn.
Okay.
So he disabled the horn. So his horn no longer came on.
Right.
So whenever the alarm went off, he had issues with the alarm. So he disabled the horn. So whenever the alarm went off, it was silent. Only the lights went off.
Right.
Mine still had a factory alarm that I hadn't messed with. After the impact, I heard a 300ZX alarm go off. And initially I thought, oh, that's my uncle's car alarm. Oh man, someone hit his car. And then I think, wait, his horn doesn't work. That's
Somebody hit my car. Oh my god.
And so I immediately run out my bedroom door, and I look. We have like a hallway where you could see there's windows that go straight to the front of the house.
Yeah.
I just saw a mess outside, dude. Like cars where they weren't,
Right.
and my car where it wasn't, and both the 300ZX lights flashing, and a black Grand Cherokee behind all of our cars. So I run outside. This lady's trying to back up. I'm not having it. So I scream at the top of my lungs, stop the car. It's not exactly how I said it, but stop the car. Where are you going? Get out the car. And she was just so scared. Like she abruptly stopped the car. I guess she wasn't expecting someone to be outside that fast. Right. I was outside within 15 seconds of the impact. So, my mom very quickly sent my uncle out there because she was afraid I was going to do something to whoever hit the cars. So it was a lady, so that spared her. But it was a drunk Latina woman, and she couldn't speak a lick of English. And she didn't know what I was saying, but she knew I was really mad.
You can imagine.
And she was very drunk. And come to find out from the police report, she lived in Union City. So imagine her trying to drive to Union City.
Yeah, it's a nice drive.
Yeah.
Especially when you're drunk.
Could have killed someone.
Oh,
by the way, her airbags didn't even go off. I don't know if I ever told you that.
Yeah.
She could have killed herself. I told my uncle this. Not the same uncle who had the 300ZX, but I have an uncle that's a retired sheriff's department captain. He lives in Georgia, but called him, showed him videos of everything, and he's like, "Man, you know what? The way she hit your cars, if your cars hadn't been parked there, she would have hit that pole, and she probably would have killed herself."
Oh, for sure.
And when I
She
look
would've
back
probably
on it
went
now,
through
I'm
the
like,
windshield.
yeah. I'm like, you know what? You're right. She was probably going at least, dude. Okay. She hit my uncle's car, pushed his car into mine,
Yeah.
pushed my car underneath my mom's car.
Yeah, you got to be going pretty quick.
Dude, at least 60.
Yeah, you would say.
So, yeah. So she was moving, and now I'm in the market. So that was my second Z. Neither one have lasted a year yet. I bought back the first one because we're
Yeah.
gonna, the frame straight. We're gonna rebuild that one. That's in process. This one, I don't think so.
Yeah.
There was nothing really special going on with this car.
Right, yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. This car has like a crazy story, and because I know so many of the previous owners,
Yeah.
it's cool. And there's a lot of people that used to own the car that have reached out to me, and they said they were so sorry to see what had happened, that they didn't want to see the car go out that way, but things happen.
Yeah.
And so
Can't
now,
control it, unfortunately.
right, unfortunately. So now I've pretty much narrowed it down to two
Okay.
300ZXs that I'm looking at. But
All right.
that's been my ride with the 300ZX.
That's pretty crazy.
So far, yeah.
It's been a roller coaster.
We're going to try and limit the amount of accidents that we go
Telling
through.
you got to get a different color. That's what it is. Get
Yeah,
a blue one.
Both
or
of the ones that I'm looking at
a
are
yellow
red.
one. Or, yeah.
Listen, I'm not intentionally looking for red ones. They just
keep
fall in
coming
my
to you.
fall in my lap. When I said to Corey, I said I wasn't even looking for a 300ZX. I wanted a Skyline.
That's what happened when I found my truck. I was looking for a red one, but I got a red one though. So it's something that's red.
I don't. I never really have been looking for red 300ZXs. They
fall in
find
your
me.
lap. Yeah.
They find me, and they keep getting hit.
They've
so
latched you. The
yeah,
curse.
I guess red is too hard of a color to see.
Now red's one of my favorites, though, obviously. But
Oh, me too.
I love red.
Remember that? Do you remember that Corvette that I rented off Toro?
Yeah.
For the seat that was a red Corvette.
Yeah, no, I love red. Man.
Yo.
You can't go wrong with it.
No.
It looks good on pretty much anything.
Any car, truck, SUV, crossover. I don't care. Red's gonna look good.
Yeah.
You're gonna do good with red.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
But yeah, that's my.
Well, that's a good origin story.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get any more. Listen, that's about
Hopefully,
as,
it's more smooth sailing.
yes, please. That's about as legendary as I
From here
want it to
on
be.
out,
Please, I'm not trying to buy another 300ZX.
No more accidents. No more. You gotta put that thing into like a storage unit when you
It
get
needs
it.
to go in a bubble.
Yeah, something.
Well, the other one, the twin turbo, when it gets done, I'm not.
Yeah, no.
It's
It has to go anywhere but there.
Corey, me and Corey have already spoken about this, and it's going to a safe place,
Okay.
and it won't see the light of day unless I allow it to,
right.
to see the light of day. So, where it's going to be stored at won't even be technically near or on a road.
Good. So unless a nuke goes off, you're pretty much good.
It'll be safe. It'll be totally safe. I might be roasted.
The drones might get it. The aliens, they'll
drones.
zap it up.
Yeah. Hopefully not. I'll put it under like a little cloak or something.
Yeah.
But
It's a good story though, man. I mean, at the very least, it'll when you get it back, you're going to appreciate it that much more. I mean, you've pretty much been like a 3-year journey
and
to
I'm
like
waiting for it
actually
again.
get to enjoy it. Yeah.
But I can't blame Corey for this because
No,
it's different than
Yeah.
putting a car together
No,
mechanically.
this is just
body
unfortunate
working.
circumstances.
Yes, very unfortunate. Two very unfortunate
Yes,
circumstances.
yes. No,
My milestone right now is to own a Z for a year.
That doesn't have issues.
That doesn't get
No
crashed.
engine issues. Nobody runs
I'll
into
take
it.
issues. I just don't want it to get hit.
I mean, just don't go near that street again, man.
It was parked in front of my house.
I was scared parked in front
I
of your
can't
house,
go
bro.
home.
I was literally like looking. I'm like, who's gonna hit my
If
truck?
you want insurance money for your car, come park in front of my house.
There you go.
Eventually, it'll get hit.
That's it.
But, well, that's my origin story with the Z. But what about yours with the Q50?
Also, I guess how I got into cars, my dad's always been into cars. So he had like a 70.5 Camaro SS. He's had some really cool muscle cars.
Yeah.
And growing up, he had a couple cool muscle cars, and he had a lot of motorcycles. So I was like around it. And he actually is really mechanically inclined, so he like built them all himself. I'm decent, but not to the extent that he's at. And yeah, just being exposed to it. I always liked cars. You know, you always want to be like your dad when you're growing up or whatever. So I was like, oh, I want to get like a cool car. But you know, you don't have any money when you're a kid, right? So like my first car was a Ford Escort,
Okay.
the like ZX2. So it was like it's kind of like the little sportier one, but it's still slow. It's like 150 horsepower or something like that. But it was very light. It was like only 2,700 pounds actually. It's
Okay.
like a small little car, manual windows, like nothing nice about it. It was green, and I hate green. Sorry,
kind of
Matt,
green,
I'm not a
though?
green guy. It was like it
Not
was like a
bright.
darker green.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like a darker green,
Good.
but I just don't like green though. I don't know why.
I understand.
And you know, so I was like constantly complaining to my dad, like this thing sucks. Like, you know, can we do anything to make it cooler? And he's like, nah, you can't be messing with this car. I was like, all right. So like after a while, I guess I kind of like wore him down. I was only like what 17 or whatever. So he was like, listen, if you know, save up money, I'll match whatever you put up to get like something respectable, because he wanted to see me in a cool car too. Like he likes cars, you know.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to be in like a muscle car. Like that's what he enjoys. He's never been into Japanese cars or like the European cars or anything. So he wanted me to get like a Camaro or you know whatever something. And kid I went to high school with, so I saved up a good bit of money. I was like working like crazy. And kid I went to high school with, he you know, I was talking to him like I don't know what kind of car I want to get. And he was like, oh, you should check out Subarus. And I was like, I don't want a freaking Subaru. I didn't know anything about Subarus. I was like, I don't want one of these. Like, I'm thinking about like a Forester, you know, like a soccer mom's car.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, you gotta check out the STI. And I was like, all right. So I'm like looking at it. I'm like, this thing's actually kind of sick. Like, this is pretty cool, actually. So I told my dad about it, and he liked it a lot too. So I searched around, kind of got an idea what they were selling for, and I made sure to get at least to like that halfway point, so that he would meet me on the rest. And we picked up my first STI, and super low mileage. It had like 50,000 miles on it. It was actually like, I really regret selling it. It was so clean.
Yeah.
And we kept it simple. We just did like bolt-ons and whatnot. And I sold it because I've quickly realized like I can't even afford to like keep fixing this thing. Like I had no
Right.
money, you know. And,
Nickel and diming you.
literally. And actually, so actually to circle back, so before I got that, there used to be this car show in Edgewater. So a lot of probably the older audience would remember it. It was like insane. Like I'm talking like 400 or 500 cars would go there every Thursday night. So when I had the Escort, I went there and I saw STI in person. I was talking to the guy, and that's like what really pushed me over the edge and kind of like got me more into the car thing. So anyway, so I sold that car and I bought a Corolla. So I had
Okay.
that because I was like, I'm poor. I need just like a car that's like good. I mean, like
What
college.
year Corolla?
It was a 2007. So it was actually pretty new. So this was like 2009 maybe. So it was only like a 2-year-old
Oh yeah, I was
Corolla.
gonna say that's
yeah,
actually
but it was
probably
also
pretty good. huh?
manual and manual windows and like not
Wait, what? Manual?
manual. Yeah, manual.
Trans?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
It's
even.
still running actually. My cousin has it.
What?
It's still running. It's got like 200 something
Original
thousand
clips?
miles. Probably not. I don't think so. But
You took like a similar path that John Marco took, because his first car was a Corolla.
really?
Yeah, now he has a Skyline.
I liked it. I mean, it was great gas mileage and really easy
I
to
hope
work
so.
on, and
Yeah.
parts were like so cheap. But it was just like a very lame car. That's not fun at all. So I had it for a little while, and then I got my next STI, it's a blue one, and we went a little crazier with that. We put like a bigger turbo on it.
Okay.
It was probably running like low 400s for a little while until the motor gave out, and
Okay.
then we did a built motor, slightly bigger turbo, so it was making like in the 500s at that time.
Who do you reach out to get a built motor for a Subaru?
So IAG Performance makes them, in like kind of like bulk, like they like kind of like mass produce them pretty much. I mean, I don't know.
So they don't like take cores and
No, so
refresh
they
them,
actually,
make their
yeah,
own.
they like, so they buy new blocks from Subaru, and then they're building them themselves, as far as I know anyways. And so you could go that route, or you can go to like shops. So like there was a bunch of shops, trying to think of the names of some of the ones. There's Prime, yeah. There was the shop CT, which is in Connecticut. Mikey was, I don't know if I think he owned it. It was a shop, ACI Dynamics, that was in Connecticut. There was EFI Logics out there. Honestly, so the thing that was really nice about Subaru is it's like, so you have like all these forums, there's like infinite knowledge out there, infinite videos, and for whatever reason, I guess because we get winters here, they're like really popular cars on the East Coast, so there's like hundreds of shops you can go to. So there's like no shortage of places that you can go to get like a built motor or whatever it is that you want.
Right.
So we didn't go through IAG, we had a shop build it, and it was great, no issues. We rode it that way for a while. Then I ended up putting a bigger turbo on it, and still no issues. It was fine. I ended up buying a Audi A4 off of my aunt. She didn't want it anymore, and I got that as a daily. So I had that, and I had the Subaru.
Bold.
Yeah, it was fun. That was actually the problem car, though. That engine had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Stock, but a lot of issues.
My boy
Also
Alex has
manual,
one.
though.
Yeah.
So
My boy Alex has an Audi right now that.
yeah, this was an '09, so it has the 2.0, and
he
it was
has
like
a
before they did the refresh on the engine.
I think he has
so
the exact same
yeah,
one.
a lot of issues.
He's not
they
having
like
fun with it.
eat oil left and right.
Yeah.
Nice car though. Like when it drives
It's
nice.
nice,
Yeah.
yeah.
But so I had those two. Ended up selling the blue one to a really good friend of mine, so he still has it and has kept it like really nice. I really miss that car too. And then I bought another STI, and that one we turned into like a straight up track car. It actually held the pump gas record for like a year on the track, and then I just decided, you know what, I'm sick of spending money on cars. I'm selling both of these cars. I just want to get one nice car that's gonna be reliable. That's how I got the Q. So people probably gonna get upset about this, but like I said, I was never a Nissan fan, never an Infiniti fan. So I literally bought this car because I was like, what's like the nicest, lamest car I can buy that I'll have no interest in modifying? That's like literally my logic when I bought this car.
That was my follow-up. I was going to say, so then what
Like
brought
I
you to the
literally
Q50?
bought it because I was like, I'll never want to mod this thing. So that was like my thought process, yeah. Actually, so the main thing is I actually had no intention to buy, I wanted to buy a BMW. I wanted to get into like a 335 or something.
Yeah.
But when I was shopping around, the Q was like a lot cheaper, and it was,
And more
in my
reliable.
opinion, it actually had a nicer interior and more reliable and everything, cheaper to work on. So that's kind of what shifted me. And then I was like, also not wanting a car that I'm going to modify. So I was like, let me get this. So I had it for a little while, and started with a muffler, put a muffler on it, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good.
That's where it always starts.
And I put like little odds and ends on it, like a lip and stuff like that. And but I found quickly, like coming from Subarus, where the STI engine's been around since 2004.
The FJ, right?
The EJ257.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, infinite knowledge or information for that. Specifically the Q50, like the VQ, there's a lot of information for, but the Q50 at that time there wasn't. So I got this car in 2016. It's 2014, so it'd only been out for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I stumbled upon, I guess, a plug for Speed Culture Studio. I don't know if you've ever watched his channel.
I have.
So he was like the only guy like making content on how to just do anything on these things, like from basic maintenance to modifications. So I was like watching all his stuff and just trying to learn whatever I could from him. And we communicated too. Like I would talk to him and ask him questions and pick his brain. And unlike the Subaru, there was no place around here to take the car. Like nobody was like a VQ specialist that I could find anyways, like locally. And so I talked to him and I was like, who can I call to tell me like do this, and this, like mod wise or to tune it or whatever. And he put me on to Soho. So shout out to Soho Motorsports. So I called them and it started off really simple. I was like, what can I do to get this car to be just like a little bit peppier? So they were like, you do test pipes, 3-inch intakes, catback, and we could do like a remote tune because they're out in, you guys are in the Carolinas, so it's not close. So that's what we did. I bought those parts. We did like an E-tune. Car was like aesthetically mostly stock at that time. I got a carbon lip and like a little winglet on the trunk, and like tints and like lower, nothing crazy, like very, very simple basic setup. And it was just like bolt-ons. And I enjoyed it like that for probably about a year. And I got really bored with it. I didn't know what to do anymore. So I called them up and I was like, listen, I'm losing my mind with this thing. I need something better. Like, is there anything I can do to make this car fast? And they were like, well, we could supercharge it. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And so then they were like, but the problem is we haven't done this on the Q50 with with their current the version 2 air-to-air kit that they have.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So they were like, so we're probably gonna need your car for like a little while longer than usual because it's we haven't done this. We don't know what we're gonna have to adjust. And I was like, that's fine. It was like around the winter time, so I was like, a car usually goes, hibernates at this time anyway, so
Yeah.
you can keep it for a while. So we're like, all right. So we worked out like a good deal where because it was understood that this was the first time they're doing it. They're going to take it for a little while, so they can't. We had to come to an understanding on the price point, basically. Like I wasn't going to pay, like I felt like they should, incentivize me and vice versa. And I figured also to help them sell kits and whatnot like that.
Yeah.
I told them I'll advertise for you guys, post all over social media and whatnot, and so we had like kind of a mutual understanding. And I sent the car there, and to my surprise, like they use a website called Shop Tech or something like that. Shop Tech, I think it is, and basically it's like your car profile, and they take pictures of everything that they do. So like if they're changing a spark plug, they take a photo of that, and then, they put it in.
And you can see it on your end.
And then they show it to you. So it's really nice because
that's
what they're
cool.
doing all throughout the way. And they were great with communication. Like they'd call up like, hey, this is where we're at with this, and just constant updates to let me know like when things were expected to be done. And it was probably the best experience I've ever had with a shop because of the communication and everything. Like you just felt there was never really a point where I'm guessing like, oh, I wonder what's going on with my car. And especially the fact that it's all the way in the Carolinas, it's like it's not like I can go check up on it. You know what I mean? So it's like I really appreciated that they did that. So we did that. They sent the car back when it was done, and then I started getting more crazy with the carbon fiber stuff, like the hood and the roof and everything.
The back
seats and the front seats and the interior and all that. And then they came out with so the company who makes the belt for the ProCharger gates, they stopped making it. So basically the industry had to come up with a solution for this, like the aftermarket industry, because G's, Q's, Z's, all of them had many of them had superchargers, and now they weren't going to have a belt.
Yeah.
So Soho came out with it's a cog belt. So the old belt's like a serpentine style belt, so it's just like your serpentine belt where it has ridges, and it's just trying to stay on with the different pulley system. And now they had a cog belt where it's more like a timing chain belt. So it's actually got like cogs, and it goes into in between like gear teeth.
Yeah.
So you avoid belt slip basically that way. It's like the benefit. So they came out with theirs, and I think Z1 came out with the serpentine style one. Admin works with a guy in Thailand. I think his name's like Minmise or something. He has a cog kit as well. So the aftermarket community kind of came together and created solutions, and Soho actually reached out to me, and they were like, listen, like, we want you to be like kind of like the pioneer again for like the Q50 for this kit. So I was like, sure. So we set something up, sent it out there, got that done. I think they did like some more powder coating of the engine bay, and we ended up doing the VR30 trans, which is a big upgrade over the stock transmission. Got it back, and and then now it's back out there. They came out with like a new version of the cog kit, so it's like revised some of the kinks in the first design. So it's getting that. It's getting a little bit more powder coating done while it's there. What else? A couple little maintenance items that I've been like lazy about, just told them to take care of it while it's there.
Now the motor that's in your Q is the same motor that's in a 370Z, right?
Yeah, same engine.
So, like, in terms of power, what are the limitations of that block? Do you know?
Yeah, so I mean, from what I've been told from Soho, pretty much if you're on pump gas, they try to keep you at or below like 600 is like kind of the upper limit.
And that's obviously with some sort of forced induction, whether it be turbo or supercharged.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're NA, like the most you'll ever make,
like
if you're not using nitrous or whatever, even less, like probably like 350.
Okay.
If you're using like nitrous or something, then maybe you'll touch like the low 400s.
Okay.
So I mean, really the only way to make like a lot of power is boost. So you have to have a turbo or a supercharger, basically.
But then at what point do you think you'd have to like take stuff apart, build the motor?
So if you're on pump gas, you probably like low 400 torque and then mid to high 500 horsepower. If you're running E85, from what I've seen, you can get away from like mid 600s. So like maybe like between 630 to like 670, somewhere's like around there it'll handle. But I mean, of course, it depends on how you drive it, right? Like if you're beating
Right.
the
If
hell
you're
out of it all the
constantly
time,
making it
it's
make
going to
that
die
horsepower,
faster.
right? Okay.
Yeah. But if you're not beating on it, then theoretically you could run that way for a long time. I mean, I boosted my car probably about 3 years ago now, and engine-wise, like, knock on wood again, absolutely no issues.
Yeah.
I think it depends on like the tune. You want to have a good tune. You also want to throw good parts on it. Like you don't want to get like cheap, like junky injectors, and you want to get like I ran Injector Dynamics or a good brand. I'd say those are the important things, like being up to your maintenance, like making sure you do your oil changes regularly. Doing your spark plugs, especially when you're boosted, and if you're running ethanol, you want to do them a little bit more frequently. Again, like using good parts, having a reputable tuner tune the car, and then how you drive it. If you
Right.
treat it nice, it'll last a little while.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say that's probably your upper limit. And then there's plenty of built motor options. Like Soho offers a built motor. There's a couple other shops that I've read about that, like there's one shop, I forget the name of it now. They're in Massachusetts. They're known for building the motors.
And those built VQ37s are running what they can go way past 1,000.
Yeah. So Soho actually just finished a 370Z. I think it made that one made 970 with their built engine.
Nice.
They had another one, I think, that made like 1100.
Okay.
And I think their personal one, I forget now, so I could be wrong. I think it made like 1300. I think it made. I could be mistaken on that, but
Yeah.
it made a lot that was fast.
That's like, because like even with the built motor in
Yeah.
Z-Shack, they have Z's that run the same setup that I've been running. They've only, well, I won't say only, but I want to say they only say, okay, the motor's good for up to 1,000
Yeah.
horsepower. And I'm not building my car to be a track car
Right.
or crazy down the strip or something like that. But I've always just for the sake of saying that it can do it,
Yeah.
I've always wanted that to go past that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what about me wants
Trying
to
to like
go.
break boundaries,
Yeah, I feel like that's fun.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, the thing with the VQ that's nice is it's shared in the G37, the 370Z.
It's used in a lot.
And then a little bit in the, for 2 years in the Q50. And so since you have so many different models that used it, and it was around for so long, like, I mean, the 370Z came out, what was it, like 2008?
12 or 13?
I think
Was
even
it that
older,
early?
maybe like
Really?
2010, 2009,
Maybe.
something like that. So, I mean, you're talking like that engine's been in cars for, almost 20 years, 15 years, 16
Yeah.
years, whatever it is. So, like, and since there's so many cars that use it, people have just been pushing that platform for such a long time that there's so much aftermarket support out there. There's tons of, like, us as the consumers, we're the ones who push it, right? So, like, if I called, like, so for me, so I have a all-wheel drive Q50. So right now, Soho's actually working on the first set of headers. That's what it's getting there. I forgot about that. So they're working on the first set of headers for the all-wheel drive Q50 for sure, but I think actually just all chassis like that from Infinity that are all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And so, but that's like one of those things where if they didn't have a client, like me or whoever
That's
else
willing
that's
to-
willing to do that,
Yeah.
then who's going to do it, And so, like, I think that with the VQ, it's a really good platform because of that, because you have, since there's so many models, there's so many people who buy them, there's so many people who are pushing shops like Soho or other shops to develop like new stuff.
Yeah.
And because I even asked them too, like if I was kind of thinking about doing like a turbo on it instead, before we were even talking about the headers, and it was one of those things where they were like, you pretty much have to give us like kind of like a blank check because we don't even know
What that would
we would have to
consist
do,
of.
like
Yeah.
we got to figure that all out. And I was like, yeah, I'm not trying to do that right now. It's fast enough
That's
as
a
it is.
big
But,
job.
Yeah, but
You probably push way more. I won't. And there's always been like an argument with like which which way of naturally aspirated is naturally aspirated. Which way of forced induction
Yeah.
is easiest to make power with?
It's definitely
Turbo,
the turbos.
supercharger.
Definitely the turbos.
Well, because my thought process is, well, turbo all you have to do is turn a knob.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the superchargers are hard because you have to do all these pulleys and belts
And they're parasitic.
yeah,
They,
and it's
you know,
harder on your engine
Yeah.
too. So, but like, it depends on what you like. Like, so one thing I'll say is having owned cars with stock turbos versus big turbos and mid-size turbos. The way turbos come on is like very abrupt. Like it's like
especially the way they could
you
be
know,
tuned to do
yeah,
that.
like
too.
it's just like out of nowhere you're getting hit with power. Whereas the supercharger, it's a very nice linear, power
start
band,
off
so
with.
it feels really nice. And yeah, I mean, so I would say overall I like it a lot. I don't know if I would say I like it better than the turbo.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I like it worse either. I mean, they're
Some
just
people
so
like
different.
Some people like the turbo aggressive power. Like
The
some people
supercharger
like
is
that.
simple because you have, as far as like placement and stuff, like you don't have to, like any car can run easily a supercharger, but like a
Yeah.
turbo, you have to do all this like,
There's a lot of piping
fabrication.
and-
Yeah, it's a lot. So if it's not already turboed, it's hard.
Turboing an NA car
Yeah, it's not
is,
easy.
Oh my god! Well, you see,
Especially when you have all-wheel drive, because then you have all that extra stuff in the way.
there's way more stuff in the way, and I mean, you already see like what guys go through trying to turbocharge their 350s and 370s, and the rear mount turbos.
Yeah, and that's one thing that those always sketch me out because I feel like, I don't know, like a rock kicks up or something. That's an expensive
yeah.
thing to get damaged potentially.
Oh yeah, I mean, given it's right there, so
Yeah.
I guess it wouldn't be that long of a job. But
Right. But it's just like
Replacing a turbo can
I'd
get
rather it
pricey.
be in the engine bay, up high, not
agree.
getting touched by anything.
My turbo, the turbos on the 300CX, they don't necessarily sit low.
Mm-hmm.
They sit in a horrible spot
Okay.
where you can't do anything to them without moving the motor.
Right, yeah.
It's just not going to happen. But I have actually talked about doing.
It's kind of like the VR30s, I feel like, because
Yeah.
they look like a nightmare to
Well,
work on.
When you think so, okay, so the VG30 DETT
Yeah.
is the grandfather of the VR38
Okay.
DETT or D. I don't know if it's a DETT or not. I just know it's a twin turbo.
Yeah.
And that motor is the father to the VR30.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So all these motors are very, very similar in placement for everything, and
That is one thing that's cool too. Is they don't change too much.
they just improve it.
Yeah. So you can kind of swap things in and out. Like it's like Legos almost.
The VR30 is probably the motor that Nissan has most recently put out that is as close to the VG as possible.
Okay. Yes, I remember the first time I saw it, the VR30 engine, and it was stock, and I didn't know that. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like I thought that somebody made it the way I was seeing it, where it was a mess like this, like with all the wires, and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, what do you mean? This is how it comes? And I'm like looking at it, and I'm not a mechanic, but like like basic stuff, plugs and all that kind of crap. Like I feel very confident doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I don't want to touch this thing at all.
Dude, and even like, so the 300ZX only looks as clean as it does because the plenum covers a lot of the wires
your
and
engine
stuff.
doesn't look nearly as bad as the VR30 because they just leave it all out
It's
there.
because that giant rib cage looking plenum
Yeah.
hides all the stuff that's underneath it.
Right.
And it's like, if you pull the plenum, you'd be like, it looks like a bowl of spaghetti. Like, you would know what you were looking at.
One other topic I was going to ask you about. So, what do you think with the direction of like the car culture now, like as far as like takeovers and like all this other, just like the and then the flame map stuff. Like I guess like what's your thoughts on it? And like if you don't like it, do you have ideas of how it can be improved? Because I feel like right now the car community's got such a bad rap where like you can't go to a meet anymore without getting kicked out in like 5 minutes. And people speak about it all the time, but I feel like nobody's really, I don't know. It's not getting
why?
better, though.
Because I feel like, so here's my thing, right? I'm going to start with the flame map thing, all that. Do I like it? I think it's cool.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, but Like it's different from like where they used to have like burnout competitions.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen a burnout. Like if you've seen one burnout, you've seen
Right,
pretty
yeah.
much all of them,
I
right?
think what's kind of happened too is they made things like kind of easy mode for people.
Oh yeah,
So like when I was a kid and I got my first STI, for example, like it would shoot flames in between shifts, but it was like catless, turbo, had
so it
big
just
injectors,
yeah,
and it was running rich, and that's what it would do.
yeah, and
And that was cool, but it was
yeah,
cool because
it
it
did it
wasn't
naturally. It
something
wasn't
that, yeah, and then
forced,
also not everybody could do it. Like
right?
very few people could do it.
And that's what I always found really cool about RX-7s.
Yeah,
Those
those
things
things
are
are like flame machines
and
with
you don't
with
need to
nothing.
do
Yeah,
anything
that's
to
just how
them.
they are.
You just remove the
Yep.
catalytic converter and you drive it, and it will shoot a flame. Promise.
I-
Turbo or non-turbo.
Those things are, it's literally a flamethrower.
Yeah, it's actually a
I mean,
road-driven
it is
flamethrower.
like I'm like the biggest person to talk out against flame map stuff. That it's just bad for the engine, and I think it's
It is.
stupid. But
It is.
I think I would probably get flamed for saying this honestly. But like I feel like that. Like another reason why I'm not into like stance cars, it's really similar to why I'm not into the flame map, is that I feel like I see why it's good because it's kind of like an entry level thing where, so like when I had my Corolla, for example, if I put it on bags and did crazy camber or whatever,
Right.
there'd be a community of people who think that like that car is cool, and it's not that expensive in the grand scheme. It's like for me
No.
to bag my car and do crazy camber versus what I have done to my car, it's like night and day how much money that I've spent.
Yeah.
But yet, like if I did that, my car would actually do better at shows if I did like stupid bad,
Right.
like crazy.
And you know what? So I know people that have done and like in extreme stancy,
Yeah.
things, and it's like those guys get really involved to those builds and
Yeah.
like custom motor mounts and
Oh, yeah,
raising
all
the
sorts of
motor and
stuff, yeah.
all types of crazy stuff. So honestly, props to those guys for being that invested into making your
dedicated,
car
yeah.
look like that. But so here's my thing, right? I just, not that because I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
one of
I don't
those
have
guys.
a problem either, but
yeah.
I like exclusivity, So it's like
I agree.
Like when you have a car, like one of the things I like about my car is that there are not many like it. Like there's not many Q50s that are supercharged out there. Very few.
I can't name another
And,
one.
Yeah, there's not many at all, and like I get it. Like it's for a young kid, you buy a G37 and you put an exhaust on it, and you bought the car for like $5,000. Now you have a $300 exhaust on it, and you slap a flame map on it, and you're like you feel cool and relevant or whatever. You can post reels or something like that.
Yeah.
So I get that. It's like a gateway to get into the scene or whatever. But it's like I don't know. There's just something about it where it's like I don't know. It's like a cheap way to get into it. Like it's like you. I don't know.
I agree, and I think because it's so cheap, that's what makes it readily available for like anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. You don't have
Because
to know
now, like
anything.
anybody will mod any car and they'll do that, and it's like,
Yeah.
like when I was like younger in high school and stuff, or in college, like there were certain cars like you don't mod. Like literally, when I had my freaking Escort, even my dad was like, "No, you're not modding that. Like you're gonna get."
Now nothing's off the table.
Yeah, no, everybody does anything.
That's so, and I'll probably get killed for saying this too, but there's certain cars that just
Shouldn't be modded.
shouldn't be modded.
It's supposed to be a commuter.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a commuter. Just let it go.
Yep.
I don't want to see any modified Mitsubishi Mirages out there, And now given I say that, but I've always been a person where if at the end of the day, if the car makes you happy,
Yeah, I mean, it is nice
you.
that people have like I get everybody's in a different place financially and whatever, so everybody starts someplace, so I get that. But it's
I
like do
won't like
things
it.
like tastefully though, you know what I mean? Like it's like
look, and okay, so ever since you guys asked me to be a lead in Pure, and I'm really trying not to make things obvious, or name drop, but occasionally when we've done meets, people have referred to me as like, oh, talk to Dior, he can help you get in.
yeah.
And there's no filter to that.
Yeah.
So I would get people that come up to me and, ask me, hey, what do I have to do to get in? And I'm like, I don't even know what you drive.
Get a new
What do
car.
you drive? And they'll bring me over to their car and I'm like, what is this basket case? Like, there's no way. Like, I've seen some cars where I've looked at them and I've thought to myself, there's no way you think this looks good.
Yeah, but they do though.
No way you think it looks good. Like, if you
You know what I think it is too, though? I think maybe it's part of like social media, right? So you know how like nowadays people have like they say they have like shorter attention spans and stuff like that.
Like brain rot.
Pretty much like you're not well, like not even saying it in a bad way, but like you're not like looking into the future, right? So I think we're all guilty of that, right? So like for you, you always loved the 300ZX. So
Yeah.
for you, when you got it, it made sense to dump money into it because that was a car you always wanted. But like a lot of people, they know that they like when I got my Escort, I knew I liked cars, and so what I could have done is spent a bunch of money on that car, and ultimately not have been happy with it, and then wasted that money and then sold it and then bought another car that I did want and spend money on. Or you can keep that car and keep it for what it is, save your money up, and get a car that you do like, and do that the right way, like mod that car, to make it nice.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can't do that because they don't have like the foresight. Like they want it now. Like they don't want to drive like a whack car or whatever. They want to get a cool car.
I think there's like a blindness
Maybe that too.
of like, okay, so you have like, when you were in high school,
Yeah.
because I know it was like this when I was in high school, almost any car seemed like a cool car
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah.
because you
It was new.
couldn't drive.
Yeah. It was,
So if any of your friends had a car, it was a
Yeah.
cool car.
Yeah.
Didn't matter what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool car.
Yeah.
Like my friend Xavier had a Acura TSX.
yeah.
Now I look at a TSX, I'm like, it's a TSX.
Yeah.
It's like a '07 TSX.
Right.
But back then it was like, yo, Xavier's got a TSX. You know, like we're 17, Xavier's got a TSX.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, but I think there's like a blindness going around of like younger kids going out, getting their first car,
Yeah.
and trying to make their first car like either like their dream build
Yeah.
and trying to force it to be that, and not saving up the money to go get that car that they know they really want, or it's a roundup of kids that grew up seeing the crazy takeover culture growing from West Coast to the South to the Northeast now, and seeing how people get clout from doing stuff there, and probably going and attending some of those meets. And I've been to one. I've been to takeovers way before I was in Pure. But I've been to takeovers before, actually two.
Yeah.
Specifically two. One was Full Send, New Jersey, and the other one was Rip Streets.
Okay.
And the first one, I didn't really like.
Yeah.
Like, I had fun, but I also felt like I was in danger.
Right. Yeah.
Which I was.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And, I thought, like, okay, maybe it was just because it was, this one. And I went to the Rip Streets one. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't even get to where they were doing all the crazy stuff. I got there, parked, got out, walked a couple feet, and was like, never mind. and I got back in my car and I left. And
I think it's like we have like
but they want clout.
the community has to, but like the community has to,
Filter.
they have to hold like the standard of what earns clout, Like again, like when I was younger, like
would be
it was all about who had like the fastest car, which and I'm not advocating like street racing or whatever.
Yeah.
But like at least it was kind of cool though. Like it's like
Yeah, 'cause you could brag
so
about
and
your
so
car.
has like this whatever, like that's got 500 horsepower or something
Yeah.
like that.
And
But
the
like
car has
now
like
it's
an aura.
like the entry level, like the admission ticket is like so low, where it's like if you can shoot a flame, like you might get a viral TikTok video or something like that, or like I don't know, and like there's ways to do things tastefully, Like it's like
Yeah,
if it's like a
everything
clean like whatever and it's
Everything
shooting
doesn't have to be
flames,
clapped
that's
out.
cool. Like, but if it's like not a nice car and it's just shooting flames, like I'm not impressed by it.
Yeah.
And especially now, it's like I feel like I'm so desensitized to it.
car,
Everybody can do it.
Everyone can shoot flames.
No.
It is.
I don't get though. People bug out about it though. Like it's like they've never seen it before. It's like they have amnesia.
I am
It's like
so-
you just saw that one doing it,
Dude.
This one's doing the same thing.
So my friend Jermaine, when he had his R35,
Yeah.
him and a handful of other guys used to pass around the title the Flame King.
Yeah.
Because they all flame super well,
Right.
and they've been on YouTube videos doing it,
Yeah.
and they've each gone viral doing it, and everyone, they would win two-step competitions here and there at Ritz magazine shows, and since I knew him, a lot of times I would be the guy filming,
Yeah.
and it got to the point where I just knew what to expect. And if I was going somewhere where I knew that we were going to shoot cars shooting flames, I used to bring my Mixer Beats headphones And I didn't have anything playing of them
Yeah.
just to protect my ears because having two hands
Oh, it
on a
makes you go
camera,
deaf.
it was horrible. And I used to go home with headaches a lot of the time. I had fun, but I would go home
Yeah.
with headaches. It sucked. But it back then it was more than just can you shoot a flame.
Yeah. Well, also too, like, I mean, it was new.
It was new.
So it wasn't like,
So
like
every
now
car
it's
couldn't
like
do it.
so overplayed. It's
Yeah.
like,
I feel like back then it was more like your Volkswagens could do it.
yeah.
Anything Nissan.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever really saw
Yeah.
it on. And a handful of Hondas. But those are usually like race cars.
Yeah, I just think it's
I don't think
It's just-
it'll ruin the car culture,
yeah.
but people have to learn how to control themselves
Yeah, 'cause it's
when
given
they
it's
have it.
you know you have to consider like there's like civilians or whatever like people who aren't into cars
Yeah.
and they don't know what that crap is. They think
Yeah.
it's gunshots
Sounds like- and
going
it
off,
sounds like
and
gunshots.
They call the police and then
Yeah.
the cops don't want to deal with this stuff, so they're like,
Right.
get the hell out of here. And then I mean, what do you do? You know, that's
And
why
then-
like I pretty much only go to shows now because I'm not going to drive to a meet to be there for 5 minutes to get told to
and then it
leave.
gets
Like
shut
I'm
down.
not doing
Yeah.
that.
And you possibly get a ticket.
Yeah, you might get your car freaking impounded even. Like
Yeah.
it's
I've
crazy.
seen some real bad stuff happen at meets.
I think Matt went to the show at Bear Mountain like sometime last year.
Yeah.
And it was like basically like a sting. Like they were like the cops were
I think
there.
I was supposed to go to
Yeah.
that. It was like a little
And
cruise that they did.
They gave out like he said like they gave out like hundreds of tickets. Like
That's insane.
he got a ticket I think for tints.
But
So it's like, but it was
Poor
just like to
Matt.
prove a point where it's like you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Like, don't come here.
And it's like the same thing that like what happened with H2O. After a while,
yeah, that was
Ocean
crazy
City
too.
Police
Yeah.
now they just make examples
Yeah, if they
of
even
people.
see you, you're done.
Dude, it's over.
And it's sad for a bit. So the Edgewater show I was talking about earlier in the pod, like I said, they used to get like, not even exaggerating, it must have been like 400 or 500 cars. Have you ever been to the Edgewater, like the Outback lot?
No.
It's huge, like it's massive, and it's like a giant mini mall area, and there's a huge parking lot every Thursday night from all over New York, New Jersey, and they didn't do flame map back then, but people would do like burnouts and play like really loud, obnoxious music and whatnot. And eventually the cops shut it down because the people who lived there were like, "What the hell's going on over here?" You know? Plus street racing was happening and all that. And,
Right.
I'll never forget. I went into there's a Starbucks there, and I went into the Starbucks, and I was like, I became friendly with like one of the workers there, and I was talking to him, and I was like, what do you guys think about the Thursday night meet?
Yeah.
And like, we love it, and I thought it was because like they like cars, and they were like, no, because we would make like on a regular Tuesday, we might make, just gonna make up a number, like $2,000 or something. Obviously, it's probably way more than that. They're like on Thursday, we pull in like 10. Just because everybody comes in, and so it's actually it can be good for businesses. Like people go in,
If everything's sanctioned and people aren't going crazy.
they go in and they buy stuff, they buy drinks, they buy food, like whatever. But I don't know what it is with I mean, everyone's guilty of it, but it's like, even myself, it's like something with car people. You always have to feel like you have to show off, I guess, and they
I guess
gotta like
people,
stand out.
People just want, well, one, I think it is a clout thing.
Yeah.
And people want that possibility of going viral.
Yeah.
And people, I don't know, I guess people
Social
wanna,
media definitely made it way worse.
Social media made it way worse because I think what the overwhelming thought process is I want people to know my car.
Yeah.
And
And now with all the car thefts and stuff, it's almost like you don't want people to know
right.
your car.
And I mean, my thought process has always been, well, if you want people to know your car, just do it cosmetically. Like you don't have to, because at the end of the day, if you're a white Honda Civic that went viral shooting flames at a random meet,
Right, yeah.
you know how many white Honda Civics
Yeah,
are out there?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you don't really stand out.
you won't stand out, even if your car goes viral. Just do it the cosmetic way.
Yep.
Like, you will literally stand out. People will start to recognize your car when you start going to shows, when you start going to meets. People recognize your car because your
Like
car.
I don't do any stupid shit on social. Like I probably shouldn't curse, but I like people constantly are telling me like, oh, post videos like racing and doing this and then I
Right.
don't because like
incriminating
I'm just
yourself.
not
first
trying
of
to
all.
like, like I'm not.
Well, think about like look at JP's car.
Yeah.
People know that car.
Yeah.
Everyone knows
Well,
that
that's my
car.
point. So I don't do any of that stuff, and I went with like Matt and Alex. I think we went to some show for Clean Culture, and it was actually pretty cool. It was like a father and a son, like a young son. He was probably like I don't know, he might have been like 14 or something like that.
Okay.
And they're like really like looking at my car, like every like inch of it, like checking it out. And Matt's like, oh, they love your car. I was like, oh, that's dope. So I was standing near it, and the dad comes up to me and he's like, oh, is this your car? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, me and my son, like we follow like you on Instagram. We like, we love all your posts. Like, it was like, I don't know, it's just like kind of cool.
Yeah.
And like he was like, yeah, my son's like shy. Like, can you go say hi to him or whatever? And I'm like, dude, like I'm a freaking nobody. What do you
Yeah.
mean, bro?
You said it like you were a celebrity.
Yeah, like I'm TJ Hunt or something, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I went over, I was talking to him. But like the point is though, is that, people, like I'm not doing anything like outrageous, and people recognize it just because they actually genuinely respect the effort that went into the build.
Yeah.
Versus like doing a clown show to try to get attention. Like it's just, I don't know, it's unnecessary. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what it entails for the car culture, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they can clean it up so we can actually get more meets going, you know?
I agree. As long as everything, like I said, I think if people can control themselves, I think we'll be good as far as all that. But if people keep doing the same thing and they just keep having the same need, like you said, to show off, and they want their car to be known by everybody, even though it doesn't look like anything special, then we're gonna keep running into the same problems. It's gonna be harder to host, actual legit shows and get, permission to use lots, and it's in the long term, it's bad for the car community because I know for a fact that people can't control themselves.
No.
Short term, in terms of like people having fun with their builds, I won't say that I like it.
Yeah.
But I understand.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me. Have fun with your car.
Yeah. It's like a time and a place, I guess, you know?
There's a time and a place. Like a flame
Or
show.
like you could do it for like one flame. You don't have to do it for 20
you don't
minutes.
have to- yes. Do not just sit on your two-step. Please don't sit on your two-step. When we go to car meets, we're trying to have conversations and chill, not listen to your car backfire.
And we want to be able to have more car meets.
Yeah, we want to actually be able to chill and have a good conversation. I've had many conversations cut off by reds and blues. It's really annoying.
Oh, man.
But I think we're going to cut
Yeah.
off there. We don't want any technical issues. So we're going out about 2.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut it off there. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Pure Power Podcast. Hope you tune in for the next one. Our goal for you guys is to come to you with a podcast at least once a month. We're going to try and stay consistent with that. And I hope you guys really enjoyed watching this podcast. Make sure to come back for episode 3. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. If there's anything that you feel as though we could do better, please feel free to let us know. We're very responsive in the comment section. Thank you. See you next time.
Peace out, guys.
All right.
All right. Not bad.
Not bad at all. I think that went great.
Yeah.